What if your body isn't broken? It's just been running on the wrong fuel. Because here's what nobody in the diet industry wants to say out loud. Belly fat is not a you problem. It is a food problem. Travel to Greece, to Lebanon, to rural Japan, to the villages of West Africa, and you'll notice something that's hard to ignore. People are leaner, not because they have better genetics, not because they work out more, but because the ingredients in their kitchens are completely different from what ended up in ours. The food industry didn't just change what Americans eat. It replaced thousands of years of ancestral ingredients, foods that worked with human biology, with products engineered to be cheap, addictive, and nutritionally hollow. Your body didn't change. The ingredients changed. And your belly is simply the most visible evidence of that switch. The good news is that those original ingredients are still here, still growing, still available. And today I'm going to show you 21 of them, ancient foods eaten daily in the leanest cultures on Earth, backed by modern science, that target belly fat at the root, the inflammation, the hormonal imbalance, the blood sugar instability, and the gut dysfunction that make it accumulate and refuse to leave. Stay with me, because number 14 is something ancient Greeks and Romans called the poor man's medicine. And scientists have now discovered it switches on a fat-burning mechanism in your liver that most modern diets completely ignore. And number 21 has been used since biblical times, and new research shows it fights the exact inflammation that locks belly fat in place and refuses to let it go. Subscribe. We do this every week. Let's get into it. Number 1. Olive oil, the fat that fights fat. This one surprises people every time. You hear fat and your brain says, fat makes you fat, but that's exactly backwards when it comes to olive oil. Olive oil has been eaten in the Mediterranean for over 6,000 years. Ancient Greeks used it as food, medicine, and even currency. They noticed something we're now proving in labs. The people who ate it stayed lean even into old age. Here's why. Belly fat isn't just about eating too much. A lot of belly fat is caused by something called inflammation. When your body is inflamed, it holds onto fat around your middle as a protective response. Olive oil contains a compound called oleocanthal that turns down inflammation like a dimmer switch on a light. But there's more. Olive oil improves how your body responds to insulin. Insulin is the hormone that tells your body where to store energy. When it's working right, energy goes to your muscles. When it stops working right, a problem called insulin resistance, energy gets stored as belly fat instead. Olive oil helps fix that. Use it cold on salads. Cook with it at medium heat. Just make sure you're buying real extra virgin olive oil, stored in a dark glass bottle. The stuff in a clear plastic jug? That's a different product. Number 2. Lentils. The humble food every long-lived people ate. Every single group of people studied for extreme long life, people in Sardinia, Okinawa, Greece, Central America, ate legumes every single day. Not sometimes. Every day. And lentils are the most powerful version of this food. Here's the belly fat connection. Belly fat grows when your blood sugar keeps going up and down like a roller coaster. Every time blood sugar spikes, your body releases insulin. And too much insulin, too often, trains your body to store fat around the belly. Lentils are loaded with fiber, the kind that slows everything down. When you eat lentils, sugar enters your blood slowly and steadily. No spike, no crash, no fat storage signal. And because they're so filling, you eat less without even trying. People who eat lentils regularly have measurably less belly fat, not because of willpower, because of biology. Cook them in a soup. Eat them as a side. Lentils are cheap, fast to cook, and one of the most ancient foods humans have ever eaten. Number 3. Chickpeas. The slow burn that keeps fat away. Ancient Egyptian workers building the pyramids were fed chickpeas. Roman soldiers carried them on long marches. These weren't accidents. People figured out through experience that chickpeas kept them going for hours without getting hungry or crashing. Here's the science behind that ancient wisdom. Chickpeas are what nutritionists call a slow-digesting carb. They take a long time for your body to break down. That means energy comes out slowly, blood sugar stays stable, insulin stays low. and low insulin means your body has no reason to pack fat around your belly. They also feed the good bacteria in your gut, and your gut bacteria have a direct line of communication with your belly fat. When your gut bacteria are healthy, they send signals that say, "We don't need to store extra fat." When they're starving, those signals go quiet and your belly takes over. Roast them as a snack. Blend them into hummus. Throw them in a salad. Chickpeas have been doing this job for 4,000 years. Number 4. Barley, the gladiator grain that shrinks visceral fat. Roman gladiators were called hordeari, the barley men. They were fed barley specifically because it made them strong, gave them endurance, and kept them at a fighting weight. Modern nutrition science just figured out why. Barley contains a special fiber called beta-glucan. You won't find this in most modern foods. Beta-glucan does two things directly connected to belly fat. First, it feeds the bacteria in your gut that control inflammation. And as we just talked about, inflammation is one of the main reasons belly fat builds up and stays. Second, beta-glucan improves how your body uses insulin, making it much harder for your body to store fat around your middle. Studies on people who replaced regular grains with barley found measurable reductions in visceral fat, the deep, dangerous kind that wraps around organs inside your belly. That's the fat you can't always see, but that puts you at risk for serious health problems. Swap white rice for barley. Use barley flour in cooking. This isn't trendy. It's a 3,000-year-old solution to a modern problem. Number 5. Sardines, the cheap fish that kills belly fat at the root. Here's a food with a bigger gap between how it's seen and what it actually does than almost anything else on this list. People think sardines are for broke people and bad smells. Longevity researchers think they're one of the most powerful fat-fighting foods ever studied. Belly fat has a hidden driver that most people never deal with: cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. When life is stressful and your cortisol stays high, your body reads that as an emergency, and it stores fat around your belly as fuel for the fight it thinks is coming. You can eat perfectly and exercise every day, but if cortisol is high, belly fat stays. Sardines are loaded with omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3s are one of the most studied natural compounds for lowering both cortisol and the inflammation it causes. They calm the hormonal storm that keeps belly fat locked in place. Eat them on grain crackers. Toss them into a salad. People in Sardinia, Italy, one of the places on earth where people live longest, eat small, oily fish like this all the time. That is not a coincidence. Number 6. Figs, the ancient fruit that stops sugar from becoming fat. Figs are one of the oldest cultivated foods on earth. Fig trees show up in ancient Egyptian art, in the Bible, in ancient Greek writing, and in every culture that ate them regularly. They were connected with health, longevity, and a lean body. Here's the fat-fighting mechanism. Figs are naturally sweet, which might make you suspicious, but they come packaged with a remarkable amount of fiber. That fiber acts like a net around the sugar in the fig, slowing how fast it gets absorbed into your blood. When sugar absorbs slowly, your blood sugar stays stable. When blood sugar is stable, insulin stays calm, and calm insulin means your body has no signal to store the energy as belly fat. Compare that to a candy bar. Same amount of sugar, no fiber. Blood sugar spikes, insulin surges, fat storage begins. Figs also support your digestive system, which matters more than people realize for belly fat. A slow, congested gut creates a kind of internal pressure that raises inflammation and makes fat accumulation worse. Eat fresh figs when they're in season. Dried figs as a snack, a food this sweet that still fights fat. That's ancient wisdom you can actually enjoy. Number 7. Dates, the desert superfood that stops cravings cold. Dates have been eaten in the Middle East and North Africa for at least 5,000 years. Desert traders carried them on long journeys because they provided steady, lasting energy without the crash that other sweet foods cause. Modern nutrition explains that perfectly. Dates are high in natural sugar, but they're also high in fiber and contain compounds that slow glucose absorption. The result is a gradual release of energy that keeps blood sugar level for hours instead of spiking and crashing. Why does that matter for belly fat? Cravings. Most overeating, the kind that adds belly fat, happens after a blood sugar crash. Your body sends out an urgent signal that says, eat something sweet, eat it now, and you reach for whatever is nearby, usually something processed. Dates prevent that crash from happening in the first place. Used the right way, as a sweetener, as a small snack to prevent a blood sugar drop, dates stop the craving cycle before it starts. 2 or 3 dates in the afternoon can prevent the 4 p.m. snack attack that packs on belly fat over time. Use them to sweeten smoothies. Eat them with a small amount of protein to slow them down even further. This is ancient wisdom for a very modern problem. Number 8. Pomegranates. The king of fruit that fights fat storage. Pomegranates were so prized in the ancient world that they appear in Egyptian tombs, in the Bible, in ancient Greek myth. Kings ate them. Physicians prescribed them. They weren't just food. They were medicine. Scientists studying belly fat have zeroed in on something called oxidative stress. When your cells are under too much oxidative stress, your body goes into a kind of emergency mode. And one of its emergency responses is to store fat, especially around the belly, as an energy reserve. It's a survival mechanism that works against you in the modern world. Pomegranates contain some of the highest concentrations of antioxidants measured in any fruit. Those antioxidants directly fight the oxidative stress that triggers fat storage. They also reduce inflammation, working alongside everything else on this list to stop the chain of events that creates and locks in belly fat. Drink the juice, real pomegranate juice, not the sugary cocktail version. Eat the seeds. The ancient kings weren't wrong. Number 9. Garlic, the peasant food that supports fat-burning hormones. Garlic has been used in every major ancient civilization: Egypt, Greece, Rome, China, India. It was given to Egyptian pyramid builders to maintain their strength. Roman legions ate it before battle. Across centuries and cultures, people figured out that garlic made the body work better. Here's a belly fat connection most people have never heard. Testosterone, the hormone that both men and women need to maintain muscle and burn fat, is directly affected by something called allicin. Allicin is the active compound in garlic. Research shows that allicin supports healthy testosterone levels, and higher testosterone means more muscle and faster fat burning. At the same time, garlic has been shown to lower cortisol, the stress hormone we talked about with sardines that directly promotes belly fat storage. Attack it from 2 directions. Support the hormones that burn fat. Lower the hormones that store it. Eat it raw when you can. Crushed or chopped, not cooked immediately. Let it sit for 10 minutes after crushing to activate the allicin. Add it to everything. This food has been working for 5,000 years. Number 10. Onions, the invisible fat fighter hiding in your kitchen. Onions are in almost every cuisine on Earth. They've been cultivated for at least 7,000 years. They were so important in ancient Egypt that they were found inside pyramids as offerings to the dead. The Egyptians believed their layered structure symbolized eternal life. The belly fat story with onions centers on a compound called quercetin. Quercetin is a powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, but its specific superpower is what it does to fat cells. Research shows quercetin directly inhibits the process by which fat cells grow and multiply, specifically in the belly region, while simultaneously boosting your metabolism. This is the kind of thing your ancestors stumbled onto through experience before scientists had words like quercetin and adipogenesis. They just knew. People who cooked with onions every day looked and felt different from people who didn't. Eat them cooked. Eat them raw in salads. Eat them every single day. The most boring ingredient in your kitchen might be the most important one. Number 11. Leeks, the forgotten cousin that feeds your gut's fat-burning bacteria. Leeks look like giant green onions and taste mild and sweet when cooked. In ancient Rome, the Emperor Nero reportedly ate leeks every day because he believed they improved his voice. The Welsh have used them as their national symbol for over 1,000 years, and in traditional European food culture, they showed up in soup after soup after soup. Leeks are one of the best prebiotic foods on Earth. Prebiotics aren't probiotics. They're the food that probiotics eat. When your gut bacteria have the right food, they thrive. And thriving gut bacteria do something critical for belly fat. They produce compounds that tell your body to stop storing fat and start burning it. Research has shown that poor gut health is one of the most overlooked causes of stubborn belly fat. People who can't seem to lose weight no matter what they eat often have a damaged gut microbiome. Leeks help rebuild it from the foundation up. Add them to soups, sauté them with olive oil. They're one of the gentlest, most powerful gut-healing foods you'll ever eat. Number 12. Fermented yogurt, the living food that transforms your gut. Unsweetened, full-fat fermented yogurt, not the flavored sugary cups you find at the front of the grocery store. Real yogurt. The kind that people in Greece, Turkey, the Middle East, and the Caucasus have been eating for over 10,000 years. Yogurt was probably discovered by accident when ancient herdsmen kept milk in pouches made from animal stomachs. The natural bacteria fermented it, and instead of spoiling, it became something better. Here's the fat connection. The beneficial bacteria in fermented yogurt colonize your gut, and your gut bacteria directly regulate how your body handles fat storage. Research comparing the gut microbiomes of lean people versus overweight people consistently finds specific bacterial imbalances in overweight people, imbalances that fermented yogurt helps correct. This isn't fringe science. Major research institutions are now publishing papers on the gut-fat connection. Your grandmother's yogurt was ahead of its time. Eat it plain. Add berries or raw honey. Make it a daily habit. The culture that's been fermenting this food for 10,000 years didn't need a research paper. They had thousands of years of evidence. If you're still with me, you're starting to see the pattern. These aren't exotic superfoods. They're ancient, ordinary, forgotten foods. And they work because the body that eats them is the same body it's always been. Hit the like button. It costs you nothing and helps this reach someone who needs it. Let's keep going. Number 13. Raw honey, the sweetener that doesn't make you fat. Honey is the oldest sweetener on Earth. Humans were collecting wild honey at least 10,000 years ago. We have cave paintings to prove it. In ancient Egypt, it was used as currency. In the Bible, it's used as a symbol of abundance. Every ancient civilization on Earth prized it. But honey fell out of favor when processed sugar got cheap. And that switch, from raw honey to refined white sugar, quietly became one of the biggest drivers of modern belly fat. Here's the difference. Refined sugar causes a fast, sharp spike in blood sugar. Raw honey causes a much slower, gentler rise. The reason is the blend of sugars in raw honey, along with its enzymes and trace compounds that slow its digestion. Lower blood sugar spike means less insulin response, means less fat storage around the belly. Raw honey also contains prebiotics, food for your good gut bacteria, and antimicrobial compounds that help protect your gut from the bad bacteria that promote fat storage. This isn't permission to eat honey by the jar. It's permission to swap the refined sugar in your life for small amounts of raw honey, in tea, on yogurt, in cooking, and let your body respond to a food it actually recognizes. Number 14. Dandelion Greens, the liver food that unlocks fat metabolism. And here we are, number 14. The food that ancient Greeks, Romans, and medieval Europeans called a powerful medicine, and that scientists have now discovered turns on the fat-burning machinery that most modern people have essentially switched off. Dandelion greens are what your grandparents might have called bitter herbs. For most of human history, people ate bitter plants as a regular part of their diet. The bitterness wasn't a problem. It was the point. Because bitter compounds, we now understand, directly stimulate liver function. And your liver is where fat metabolism happens. Your liver is the fat processing factory of your body. When it's working well, it breaks down fats, flushes out excess hormones, and keeps your metabolism running hot. When it's sluggish, overwhelmed by processed food, alcohol, medication, or toxic compounds in the modern environment, fat metabolism slows to a crawl. And when fat metabolism slows, fat accumulates, especially around the belly. Dandelion greens contain compounds that directly stimulate bile production. Bile is the liver's tool for breaking down fats. More bile means better fat digestion means less fat accumulation. Studies have also shown that dandelion extract supports the liver's ability to process and eliminate the excess estrogen and cortisol that drive belly fat storage in both men and women. The ancient Romans were eating dandelion greens in salads 2,000 years ago. They grew freely in every field and garden. We started calling them weeds when we stopped remembering what they were for. Eat them raw in a salad with olive oil and lemon. Sauté them lightly. Make them a weekly habit. The most powerful fat-burning organ in your body is your liver, and this is one of the best foods you can give it. Number 15. Mustard seeds, the ancient spice that makes your body burn more calories. Mustard has been used in food and medicine for at least 5,000 years. The ancient Romans mixed it into pastes and sauces. It appears in the Bible. Indian Ayurvedic medicine listed it as a digestive and metabolism-boosting herb centuries before modern science had the vocabulary to explain why. Here's what we know now. Mustard seeds contain compounds called isothiocyanates, the same family of compounds found in other powerful fat-fighting foods. These compounds are thermogenic, meaning they raise your body temperature slightly when you eat them. And when your body temperature rises, even slightly, your metabolism speeds up. More importantly, mustard seeds improve digestion. And the connection between digestion and belly fat is more direct than most people think. When digestion is slow and food sits in your gut too long, it ferments. That fermentation raises inflammation. That inflammation promotes belly fat storage. Mustard speeds up the transit, reduces the fermentation, lowers the inflammation, and turns up the metabolic heat, all from a tiny seed. Add mustard seeds to your cooking. Use real mustard on your food instead of ketchup. This spice has been doing this job for millennia. Number 16. Cumin, the spice that blocks fat absorption. Cumin is one of the most widely used spices in human history. Ancient Egyptian physicians prescribed it. It's found in nearly every traditional cuisine from India to Morocco to Mexico. And new research is finally explaining why it showed up everywhere. A clinical study found that people who added cumin to their diet lost significantly more body fat than a control group, specifically belly fat, without changing anything else. The mechanism appears to be two things working together. Cumin improves the efficiency of your digestive system, and it appears to reduce the amount of fat your gut actually absorbs from food. Less fat absorbed means less fat available for storage. More efficient digestion means less inflammation from the gut. Both of those things hit belly fat directly. Add cumin to your eggs. Put it in soups and stews. Sprinkle it on roasted vegetables. It's been sitting in your spice cabinet doing nothing when it should be on your plate every day. Number 17. Coriander, the blood sugar herb that ancient healers knew about first. Coriander, also called cilantro when it's fresh, has been used as medicine and food since at least 5000 BC. Seeds of coriander were found in ancient Egyptian tombs. It's mentioned in the Bible. Ancient Indian physicians used it specifically for digestion and what they described as excess heat in the body, which maps very closely to what we now call inflammation. Here's why coriander makes this list. Research has shown that coriander seeds help regulate blood sugar by mimicking the action of insulin in the body. They help cells take in glucose properly, reducing the excess circulating blood sugar that gets stored as fat. Lower blood sugar means lower insulin. Lower insulin means less fat storage, especially around the belly, which is the most sensitive area to insulin spikes. This is one of those cases where the ancient physicians had it completely right. They just described it differently. They didn't have the word insulin, but they knew that coriander calmed something in the body that, when uncalmed, made people gain weight and feel sluggish. Use fresh cilantro on everything. Add coriander seeds to your cooking. Your blood sugar will quiet down and your belly will notice. Number 18. Flax seeds, the ancient seed that targets hormonal belly fat. Flax has been cultivated for at least 10,000 years. Ancient Egyptians grew it for fabric and food. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, prescribed it for digestive health. Charlemagne, the medieval king, passed laws requiring his subjects to eat it because he believed so strongly in its health properties. Here's the belly fat story that most people miss. A huge amount of belly fat, especially in women, but in men too, is driven by hormonal imbalance, specifically excess estrogen. When estrogen is too high relative to other hormones, your body preferentially stores fat in the belly and hip area. Flax seeds contain lignans, plant compounds that get converted by gut bacteria into substances that help your body process and eliminate excess estrogen. When excess estrogen is cleared out properly, that hormonal belly fat signal turns off. Flax seeds also slow blood sugar absorption dramatically, and their fiber feeds the gut bacteria responsible for healthy hormone metabolism. It's a three-directional attack on the hormonal root of stubborn belly fat. Grind them. Your body can't use whole flax seeds. Add the ground seeds to smoothies, yogurt, or oatmeal. Charlemagne was onto something. Number 19. Grapes, the fruit that improves how your body handles sugar. Grapes have been cultivated for nearly 9,000 years. They're mentioned hundreds of times in the Bible. Ancient Greek physicians used them as medicine. And in the Mediterranean diet, the most studied dietary pattern for longevity and weight management in history, grapes and their products show up again and again. The belly fat connection centers on polyphenols, specifically a compound called resveratrol and the broader family of grape antioxidants. These compounds improve insulin sensitivity. How well your cells respond to insulin. Better insulin sensitivity means glucose gets pulled into muscles instead of stored as belly fat. Research specifically on grape polyphenols has found measurable reductions in insulin resistance in people who consume them regularly. And insulin resistance is one of the primary drivers of abdominal fat accumulation in modern populations. Eat whole, fresh grapes with the skin. That's where the polyphenols live. Dark and red varieties have higher concentrations than green. This is not complicated. It's just a fruit that people have been eating for 9,000 years because it worked. Number 20. Goat milk, the original dairy that the body can actually use. For most of human history, across most of the world, dairy meant goat milk. Cows are the newcomer. Goat herding goes back 12,000 years. And in traditional cultures from the Mediterranean to sub-Saharan Africa to Southeast Asia, goat milk was a daily staple for people who remained lean, strong, and functional well into old age. Here's what makes goat milk different. It's much easier to digest than cow's milk. The fat molecules are smaller. The protein structure is different. For people whose bodies struggle with cow's milk, and many people do, even if they don't realize it, goat milk doesn't cause the same digestive inflammation. And inflammation, you've heard this word throughout this video, is one of the root causes of belly fat. When your gut is inflamed, even by something as subtle as a food it doesn't handle well, your body gets a fat storage signal. Lower inflammation from the gut means less fat storage around the belly. People in cultures that consumed goat milk daily had lower rates of the metabolic problems, insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, obesity, that define modern health challenges. Find goat milk yogurt or goat cheese at a good grocery store. Your gut may thank you in ways that show up around your waist. Number 21. Wild herbs, thyme and oregano, the biblical plants that fight the inflammation holding belly fat in place. And here we are, the final food, the one consumed since biblical times, referenced in ancient Greek, Roman, and Hebrew texts as powerful medicine. And that scientists have now studied at the molecular level to understand why these plants have worked for thousands of years. Thyme and oregano grow wild all over the Mediterranean. They're free. They grow on hillsides and rocky soil. And for thousands of years, the people who lived in those hills and on those rocky coasts ate them in enormous quantities, not just as flavoring, but as medicine. Here's what the science shows. Thyme and oregano contain the highest concentrations of anti-inflammatory compounds found in any culinary herb, including carvacrol, thymol, and rosmarinic acid. These compounds fight inflammation at the cellular level, targeting the precise inflammatory pathways that researchers have now linked to stubborn belly fat. But there's another layer. These herbs are also powerfully antimicrobial. They kill specific harmful bacteria in the gut, the kind that, when they grow out of control, produce compounds that increase fat storage. Research has shown that populations who consume large amounts of wild herbs have different, healthier gut microbiomes than populations who don't. The ancient Greeks and Romans weren't adding oregano to their food just because it tasted good. They were doing what every traditional culture did. They were watching who was healthy, figuring out what those people ate, and teaching it to the next generation. The science just caught up. Fresh thyme and oregano on everything. Dried in your soups, on your proteins, in your sauces. This is biblical food. It has been fighting inflammation for longer than most civilizations have existed. If you watched this entire video, you now understand something that the modern food industry doesn't want to be common knowledge. Belly fat is not a willpower problem. It is not a discipline problem. It is an information problem. And most of that information got buried under 60 years of processed food, refined sugar, and a pharmaceutical approach to health that would rather sell you something than tell you that the answer has been growing in a garden for 5,000 years. These 21 foods work because your body is the same body it has always been. The biology hasn't changed. The biology still responds to olive oil and lentils and garlic and dandelion greens the same way it did when your great-great-grandmother's grandmother was cooking them over an open fire. The difference is that now we understand the mechanisms. We have words like cortisol, insulin sensitivity, gut microbiome, oxidative stress, and thermogenesis. Your ancestors didn't have those words. They just had the undeniable evidence of how they felt and how they looked when they ate this way. The question isn't whether these foods work. The question is whether you'll put them back on your plate before another decade goes by. Drop a comment and let me know which of these 21 foods you're already eating, or which one surprised you most. I read every comment, and this community learns together. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.